Every night, at exactly 3 a.m., a baby starts crying. There's no baby in the building. No one's ever seen it. But still, every night, same time, it screams. Like someone took it away, or like it's calling for someone. They say, if you ever hear that cry, you either go missing the next day, or lose your mind. When I moved into my new apartment, everything felt perfect. Nice neighborhood, rent was decent, and most importantly, I wanted to live alone. I've always been an introvert, and this place felt like the escape I needed. But the first night, something was off. Around 2:58 a.m., I suddenly woke up. At first, I thought it was just a dream. Until I heard it. A baby, crying loudly. I figured it was coming from another unit. I pulled off the blanket and listened closely. But the sound wasn't coming from outside or inside. It was strange, like someone was covering the baby's mouth. But it was still trying to scream. I felt a little uneasy, but told myself, probably just another apartment, thin walls, old building. And I went back to sleep. Next morning, I casually asked the building manager, "Hey, does anyone here have a baby?" He replied directly, "There's no children in this building." That was weird. I brushed it off with a laugh, but that night, it happened again. 2:59 a.m. Same crying, but this time, it was closer. It felt like it was coming from behind my bedroom wall. But behind that wall was just my storage closet. I grabbed my flashlight and opened the door. Nothing. Just some cardboard boxes and an old rocking chair. But as I turned to walk back toward my bed, that chair, it started rocking. Gently, slowly, without any reason. I slammed the closet door shut and crawled back into bed. This time, the crying had stopped. For the next 3 nights, it became routine. Every night at 3 a.m., the baby cried. And each time, the sound felt closer. But on the 4th night, something changed. I woke up at the usual time, bracing for the sound. But this time, nothing. 3:01 passed. 3:03. Still no crying. Then, a soft knock on my window. Just once. I pulled the curtain aside. No one. But there was a tiny fingerprint on the glass. Small, but on the inside. I buried myself under the blanket, heart racing. And I don't remember when I fell asleep. But the next morning, my closet door was wide open. And inside, the rocking chair was directly facing outward. As if someone had been sitting there all night. For the next few days, I felt constantly unsettled. I pushed the chair to the back of the closet, behind boxes. But every night, it would be back in the center. Strangest of all, the baby's cry had stopped. And now, there was a new sound. One night, around 3 a.m., I heard faint footsteps inside my bedroom. Soft, small, like a toddler walking across the carpet. It wasn't loud. I could feel it more than hear it. And it stopped, right beside my bed. I kept my eyes shut, held my breath. And then, right by my ear, someone whispered. I couldn't understand it. Just a faint breath, and a single word. Mom. I screamed and flipped on the lights. No one was there. For the first time, I thought maybe I was losing my mind. But the next day, at work, a coworker asked me something strange. "You okay? My cousin lives across from your unit. Last night around 3 a.m., he swore he heard you talking to someone." I froze. He said his cousin even recorded it. He played it for me. And it was the same cry I'd been hearing. But this time, there was another sound layered under it. Another child, screaming silently. Not audible to the ears. Only the mic had picked it up. That night, I decided I needed to leave. At least temporarily. I packed a bag, checked the clock, 2:40 a.m. I rushed to collect my things. But then, the closet door slowly creaked open by itself. The rocking chair was moving again. And underneath it, something was lying there. I pointed my flashlight down. It was an old, scorched stuffed animal. A teddy bear, half its face burned off. And stitched into its clothing were the words, "You didn't save me." The flashlight slipped from my hand. Cold air blasted from behind me, maybe the AC. But it felt like someone was standing right behind my neck. And then, 3 a.m. hit. That baby started crying again. But this time, it wasn't just crying. It was speaking. "Let me out. Let me out. Please, Mom." I ran to the door, tried the handle. It wouldn't budge. It was locked. From the inside. Behind me, the rocking chair was now moving violently. And I saw a small shadow crawl under my bed. I was frozen. I shut my eyes. And that voice. It was right beneath me now. "Now you're my mom." After that night, nothing was the same. I was alive, physically. But inside, I felt hollow. Every morning, I shut the closet door. And every night, it opened again. That burnt teddy bear kept appearing in new places. On my pillow. In the bathroom sink. Once, inside the microwave. And every night at 3 a.m., the baby called to me. I remember going to the bathroom one night, looking in the mirror, and seeing a figure behind me. A toddler. Eyeless. Face half melted. Just staring at me. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. In that moment, I realized something. I would never leave this place. I was now part of its world. I tried talking to the building manager, but when I went to his office, he was gone. All I found was an old notebook. One page said, Unit 3B, multiple reports of unexplained infant crying. Last 3 tenants found dead within a week. And scribbled below that, do not rent. Closet sealed. But when I moved in, that closet was wide open. Now I understood why. That night, I made a choice. Either this ends, or I do. I set up a camera inside the closet. And for the first time, I just lay there, watching. At 3 a.m., the closet door slowly opened. The chair began rocking. And then, the toddler crawled out. He stood in front of the camera. His face fully visible now. Burnt, melted. Black, hollow sockets where his eyes should be. He looked directly at the lens. And said, "You just watched while I burned." That line echoed in my head. Like I was responsible. Like I had failed him in another life. Or maybe he was just blaming me now. The next morning, I reviewed the footage. And in the last frame, that same voice whispered again. "Now you're my mom." But this time, a new voice followed. A different soul. Another child. Saying, "I'm next." A new soul gets trapped. That closet isn't just tied to one child. It's a cage. For many. Whoever hears that cry doesn't just become a victim. They become the next caretaker of a place where children never sleep. And every night, at 3 a.m., They cry. At first, I thought it was just rats underneath the floor. But they weren't just gnawing, they were telling stories. Each night, their voices came closer, clearer. And then one day, someone called my full name and whispered, "Why don't you come down here?" I pressed my ear to the floor. And they kept repeating, "Your room used to be ours." I've always loved old things. Antique books, creaking cabins, and the kind of silence that feels like it's watching you. So when I found this one-bedroom fixer-upper, a small wooden cabin in upstate New York, the kind people whispered was haunted, I wasn't scared. I was excited. It sat right at the edge of the forest. No neighbors for miles. Just the sound of wind slicing through the trees, and the kind of peace that feels buried. I bought the place to write. I'm a writer. And writers need solitude, or at least, that's what I believed. The first time I stepped inside, it felt unsettled. Not abandoned. Just waiting. There was a shadow on the wall where a clock once hung, but the clock was gone. The floorboards creaked, but of course they did. Old wooden homes do that. But by the second night, it wasn't normal anymore. At 2 a.m., while I was writing, I heard it. Scratching. From beneath the floor. Like someone dragging a fingernail along the wood, slowly. I froze. Pen midair. The sound lasted 2 seconds, then vanished. I laughed. Thought it must have been a squirrel or mice. It's a cabin. Old. Expected. The next night, same time. The scratching came again. But this time, it had a pattern. Scratch. Scratch. Stop. Like someone trying to communicate in code. I took a flashlight and peeked into the crawlspace. But it wasn't a real basement. Just a tight, damp crawlspace, too narrow for a person. Too dark for an animal. So then, who was scratching? Each night, the sound got clearer. One time, I took my headphones off and listened, and this time, it wasn't scratching. It was a voice. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone? It was human. Muffled, buried, but human. Like someone telling a bedtime story from underneath the ground. And always, only after 3 a.m. Before that, the floor just creaked. Until one night, the words were crystal clear. I pressed my ear against the wood, and I heard, "Why don't you come down here?" I thought I was hallucinating. Until the second time. Someone said my full name. Jonathan. Jonathan, why don't you come down here? I wasn't laughing anymore. I grabbed my phone and hit record. The next morning, I listened to the audio. First, just static. Then, slowly, the voice again. "Your room used to be ours." I couldn't move. Felt like the floor itself was pulling me in. I stopped writing after that. All I did was listen. Every night, they didn't scream, they spoke. As if I was just a visitor. As if I didn't belong on top. As if I was on the wrong layer of the world. I decided to place a tiny lens beneath the floor. Just a camera, slid it into the crawl space. Connected it to my phone. Waited. Black screen. Just static. Until one frame twitched. Something was moving. Eyes. Looking directly at me. Then a whisper through the static. "Jonathan." After that night, I didn't write a single word. I felt watched not from outside the house, but from within it. Even my own voice started to sound wrong. Like it didn't belong to me anymore. The footage from the crawl space wasn't helping, it was unraveling me. Faces flickered in the static. A mouth that looked like mine. But the eyes. Not human. That thing was watching me, like I was the one behind the glass. Like it lived up here, and I was trapped in the screen. I stopped sleeping. Just pressed my ear to the floor. Every night, The whispers grew louder. Not stories now. Commands. Jonathan, open the door. Jonathan, turn off the lights. Jonathan, come down. One night, I blacked out. Or maybe I was put to sleep. I woke up covered in dirt. Nails chipped. There were scratches along my arms. My phone had a new voice memo I never recorded. It was me, my voice, saying, "I'm ready, let me in." I don't remember saying it, but it was in my accent, my tone. It was me. That night, something changed. I walked into the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and my reflection was delayed. I raised my hand, it followed 2 seconds later. But the eyes, they tracked perfectly. Then, it smiled. And downstairs, a thud. Then another. The floor shook. I dropped to my knees and looked under the bed. Nothing. Except a floorboard slightly raised, like something was pushing it from beneath. I decided, I'm leaving. Started packing immediately. But when I woke up the next morning, 9 a.m., all my bags were gone. Backpack. Wallet. Camera. Keys. Gone. The worst part? I couldn't remember falling asleep. Or even going to bed. Opened my phone gallery. 3 new videos. Someone had filmed me. Me asleep. Or what looked like me. The camera slowly approached my body. And in a final second, my eyes snapped open. But it wasn't me. Then an audio message with no sender. Your room used to be ours. Then another whisper. Now, so are you. I picked up a hammer. I had to see what was under the floor. For the first time, I pried open the spot where the whispers always came from. Pulled back the board. And found a diary. Old. Burnt. Stained with something dark. Only one sentence was legible. We took him inside. You're next. And then a breath. Right behind me. Near my ear. Jonathan. I finally understood. They weren't calling me down. They were calling me back. That diary never left my mind. We took him inside. You're next. But who was the first? And who am I? My hands didn't feel like mine anymore. Every day felt the same. Repeating. Like I was playing out a script. One night, something reached out. A hand. Dry. Fingernails long. Identical to mine. I didn't scream. Didn't move. Just watched like I was in someone else's body. Then I looked into the mirror. And I wasn't there. He was. He smiled. And said, I came from underneath. You've been inside. He raised a hand holding the same burnt diary. New words had appeared. Jonathan is the second. The first is long gone. That's when I knew. I've been gone for a long time. I'm not the one out there. I'm the one beneath. That night, the floor stopped moving. The house was silent. No one whispered my name. Because he was already upstairs. Wake them. They're sleeping now. And he closed the floor. I still speak from under the floor. You wonder how you heard this story? You pressed your ear to the wood, didn't you? You heard me. I used to do the same thing. Now it's my turn. Your room is mine now.